Until then, you have the con, sir.
Hello, everybody.
Don't.
This is broadcasting at its finest here.
If you want, I could just throw on some music for 3 or 4
No,
minutes.
I'm
Are
going to
you sure?
explain to people. I've been reading the Bob Hope biography. It goes on.
What does?
The show, Brian.
Oh,
The
got it.
show.
Took me a moment. Here, let me center you, and then you can be the king of the universe.
So I've got to do the thing where I look right at the camera and not at my face.
Uh,
Hello.
well, no,
Stand.
not if you're responding to them,
Mmm. Hello, everybody.
because then
I'm
it's
res-
like you're looking at them, right? All right, here we
yeah.
go. So look, it's all you. I'll be right back.
Hey, everybody. It's Andrew Main here. If you have any questions, just go ahead. I'll just tell you a little about myself right now. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I went to Lava Land yesterday. That was pretty awesome. Really cool. Lava rocks, and had no idea what to expect. It was a big land filled with lava. I was here with my friend Nina. She said it was like Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii, so I wouldn't know. It's lava everywhere. There may have been lava men. Could have been. I don't know what kind of arrangement they made with the people there who have lava land, like the ancient lava people. But I survived. It was cool. And then we went up to the top of a lava dome. There are like 400 of them here, and apparently one of them could blow up at any time. But I went anyways, and I survived. So there. How do you like that? Then we went into a lava tube, which was really cool. Best part is we're going in the lava tube. And there's some guy with like a miner's light on top of his head. Wasn't a miner, and started talking to him. Next thing you know, find out he's a park ranger. And he mentioned something about them doing research in the lava tubes, which went into an awesome discussion about Mars biology. Turns out he was a bit of a Mars geek too, was explaining to us about all the research they're doing into looking for bacteria that thrives at the bottom of these caves, even in these ice caves that go from photosynthesis to chemosynthesis. And he's explaining how they see some of the byproducts of that and how NASA's been doing research in these Oregon caves because if we want to find life elsewhere in space, why not Oregon? Makes sense, right? So that's what we were up to yesterday. And right now, that's what I got to say. So Strength says, Andrew, what's the next line after some people started singing it not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because? I have no idea. So my opinion of Daredevil Avengers 2. Have not seen Avengers 2. I've been exploring lava tubes in UFO country for you. Have not had a chance to see that. I have finished Daredevil, and I love Daredevil. Not to say that it's not like, it's perfection for me is, let's say, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is like perfect. Game of Thrones is just awesome. But Daredevil's great for, people who maybe thought Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a bit, how should I put, I don't know. I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not for everybody. I never really kind of took to it. But Daredevil I love, and I'm excited to see that Marvel can do that well on the small screen and to see where Marvel's going to go with that. We have coming up next, I think, Jessica Jones, and then we're going to get, I think we're going to get,
Wait, the Iron Fist or
yeah,
Power
Iron
Man?
Fist, and then what else is coming up in that?
Hey, can I full disclosure disclaimer? I feel like I don't know. I I don't know what's gotten into me, but I have a feeling like I'm going to get a reputation for being the negative Nelly on this episode because I suspect we'll talk about Avengers and I suspect we'll talk about the Apple Watch, and I like both, but it's like you notice the dark parts. It can be all be white. The brighter white the screen is, the sharper you notice the flaws in it.
So I've not seen Avengers, so I'll have noticed nothing to contribute to that. Do you have your Apple Watch yet?
I do. I just got it.
Okay, so Brian, I I didn't fall in love with it like I have every other Apple product. So your feelings are not alone on that. I've been, it's interesting to see what it's been like for, a day or two and then now a week into it, and how do I use it and how do I like it and how it evolves over time.
Yeah, well, I feel like we could talk about some of this in in weird things because they're not bad. And we won't talk Avengers spoilers if you haven't seen it. You haven't seen it yet, right? That's what you just said.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no.
but I also read Neshcom saying it at the same time, and in that split moment, I couldn't say. Am I saying that because Andrew said that, or because I just read that from Neshcom?
I was confused.
Okay, then we won't talk about that. Although I suspect Justin and I will when he gets into Austin. How long are you in Austin for?
I am in Austin for 20-something hours.
Oh, geez.
I got to drive to Dallas, but I'll be doing Night Attack.
Okay, and are we doing it Monday night or?
No, I'll be in Tuesday.
Okay.
So we can do it regular ass time. It might be a little bit late because I'll be scampering from downtown, but
That's cool by me.
Scampering.
You know, that lovable scamp.
Ew.
Dude, have you noticed a significant increase in quality with the 64-bit Wirecast?
To be honest, this is the first time that I'm doing virtual out, and it is being a real pain in the butt.
Wait, what do you normally do when you Skype in? Just have it go straight from the camera?
No, I usually do virtual camera out.
Oh, I see. This is the first time you're doing virtual out with 64-bit. I got
It's like not allowing me to move my Skype window.
Interesting.
Being very resource intensive. I need a new graphics card. I mean, that's the big thing.
So it's like it's probably no surprise that of all the rooms in the house, I drink the most beer in this room, and this is the one that for whatever reason has missed the latest lapse of doing cleanup.
Sorry to
garbage.
interrupt, guys, but we got an important question about my hair product.
And so what I've been doing is I make sure to take healthy things and leave them up here to even out with all the beer bottles that are down here.
I mean, that's a great way if you're trying to lose weight or diet or whatever, is just make the really good stuff for you so much more accessible. The bowl of apples, the bowl of stuff like that.
And plus also like I'll what we're doing right now is I'll spend the extra money. I'll spend $5 on a veggie platter tray and then set it out knowing that I don't really want it right now. And knowing that its value is only going to decrease as it dries out and becomes useless in 48 hours, and that I spent $5 whole on it to get the prepared one, and as a result, I just find myself like every time I walked by, I was like, "Oh, let's just fix that. Not carrots, celery, broccoli."
So about my hair, just to touch on that, I had a shorter haircut, and I was at that point where it wasn't working anymore. I couldn't do anything. I was frustrated this morning. Like I was trying to because I combed it from one side, and then I said, you know what? Let's just comb it the other way, baby. Let's just comb it totally from the different side.
Oh, wow. So, wait, are you normally not a left to right parter? You're normally a right to left?
Yeah, man.
That's
crazy, mind-blowing, I know, isn't it?
Well, no. Did you read that article about how history unfairly judges right to lefters? Like that's why in Superman, this is a real thing. In Superman, when they wanted him to look like Clark Kent, Weasley wimpy guy, they parted him right to left. When they wanted him to be Superman, they switched the part from left to right. And
interesting.
I believe the reason is like the cultural bias that we have is that right-handed people tend to go left to right,
like this.
Yeah, yeah, and then left-handed people tend to drive like that. But then I don't know more about that. I should look into.
Yeah,
that.
I used to go one way, then I switched it, and then I had like a cowlick, which was what decided it. But anyhow,
yeah,
this is what people tuned in for.
What's funny is I was always very much a left to right kid. And then once I became an adult, I went ridiculous and was perfectly symmetrical with the Guile hairstyle, right? And then once I went perfectly symmetrical, I didn't really care one way or the other, So I would mix it up. I guess right now it's wait, I'm left to right now. Oh, this is my normal. That's right. This is unusual for you to be on this.
All right, guys, I'm gonna try and change something real quick.
The topic.
Man, I can't wait to talk about Apple Watch stuff because I have a lot of real positive things, but there's also some very un-Apple things about the Apple Watch. I'm going to save it for the show. Just sort of like, I don't know.
Brian, we've had a big science week here, though, too. We've had an amazing week of stuff going on.
Heck yeah! What we got the crazy NASA engine. I didn't know about that night tower thing, whatever that was.
Oh my God! Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That sounds so legit.
Add that one to the list. Also, we have to go through the UFO. We promised we'd go through the UFOs.
We should have up front.
Bryce, will you give me that link again? Or you know what? I bet it's in my Gmail. I'm sorry that I didn't already have this all done. I ran late working out because yesterday was my... Oh, here we go. Weird Things Doc. Beautiful.
Bryce is on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like super chunky, right?
Well, you are now. You weren't you weren't on the previous call.
Really?
Yeah. I actually...
We're talking about your weight. I'm like, wow. I don't want to be the one to mention it, but,
Yeah, no, something's different right now that's like super...
I tried to bump it down to a lower setting so I could stop because it looked chunky to me.
No, now it definitely looks worse, and it definitely looks lower resolution, whereas before...
Definitely lower resolution.
Yeah.
But I hope that would... okay. All right.
No, it actually made it nastier. I'll tell you one thing I've noticed, Justin, is especially going to 64-bit, is rebuilding everything from scratch makes it a lot smoother. So it's like if you were to create right now, or just you could, that's fine. You could go. Man, I just want to talk with DCTV bot. I just want to have long conversations. I don't know if you're able to hear me. I was saying that that one thing that helped incredibly was rebuilding a scene from scratch instead of using anything that was either imported or...
So don't use the old...
Oh, no, definitely not. Like in fact, I would say for right now, if you have 5 minutes, you want to tinker, I would say create a brand new scene, put one item in that scene, or two items, your audio track and your current input from that one camera, and make that be it. Just label that Weird Things Call In. And then my guess is that's as good as it'll be. And then from there, you can start building up stuff on top of it.
Right. Well, I mean, is this usable?
Yeah, it's still slower than it was two calls ago. But yeah, we can use that.
Garbage. All right. If you guys don't mind, I can do that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Your call.
It's fine with me.
Right.
Unless it's not okay with Andrew, in which case it don't matter. Man, I'll tell you what, it wasn't top on my list to rebuild all the scenes again, but I'm really glad I did because all of them are so much more efficient and just everything seems so smooth now. And plus, like in my mind, everything was built on previous work, so I kept having to move Skype windows around constantly. Whereas this, it's like I'm in the middle. There's that other shot. I'm still in frame here. You're there. There's this. And then we can go to that. Oh, thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it. Smooth operator. Hey. I dipped below 148 pounds for the first time since 2014. Since I got back from Los Angeles.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Salmonella?
Yeah. I wish it was that simple. I've got, I hit 147.9 and, and I signed up for the Captex triathlon, which is less than 3 weeks away now, or it's 3 weeks from tomorrow, or today. And, as a result, that means like, I can't, normally this is the part where I back off and I'm like, I can fudge here or there. I don't have anything pressing around the corner. But the fact that I have this thing happening in 3 weeks means I'm almost guaranteed for the next 20 days to stick to the system and continue to get in shape. So with any luck, I should be in the best shape I've been in. Yeah, that looks better.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
no, this feels. I mean, like, yeah. It turns out don't use any of your old documents. That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, that is significantly better.
Sorry.
Oh, hail.
Brian, tell me a little bit more about this.
About what? I'm just so excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great, man.
Andrew is fairly brutal when it comes to discussing any kind of dietary restrictions because he has the metabolism of Superman.
Oh my God.
There was one time in which me and a mutual friend of ours, Jamie, were at a Taco Bell. We were talking about watching what we eat, and Andrew responded by finishing his taco, lifting his shirt, and slapping his flat, gorgeous belly.
That was a long time ago.
All right, let me load up the recording program. Uh-oh, we just lost Justin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, wait, no, there we go. You're in tape mode.
My camera's...
Oh my God, this was 1993, public access.
Yeah, it did.
Man, I'll tell you what. This is as if it were set up. So me waking up at 4 a.m. on 1 hour sleep in Tampa and coming back here would just try my patience to the maximum amount. Just all the tech problems all at once. That'll be great.
We go back to that screen overlay, and you can tell us why you think Jesus Jones is going to be a big band forever.
Coming up after the break, Jesus Jones.
I actually set up a little contingency plan just in case this thing decided to be a piece of butt.
I mean, it's fine. We don't even put out the video feed. Whoa.
All right. Well, there we go. If it screws up, I've got the other camera. So
awesome.
Go sit in the chair in the corner.
All right. This is Brian clocking in at just under -6. Check. All right, Justin, let me hear you.
Check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And Andrew?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Who do we appreciate? Bryce Neshcom.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hello, friends.
Brian Brushwood.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely covered in my own gym sweat. That's a common greeting in our hometown. It's sort of like I believe it's in China. You say, like, have you eaten recently? It's like, are you covered in your own gym sweat? Is the Austin way of greeting each other. And then what you do is you turn and you show the small of your back, where hopefully you recently have pedaled on a bicycle, so you've got a little wet spot on the small of your back.
This is the new segment on the show called Brian Wants Everyone to Know He Worked Out. Just
gentlemen.
in case you were wondering, Brian, there should be a website. Has Brian worked out right today?
And the answer is just yes, always, whether it's true or not.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll just be you can set alerts on your phone. So it'll just alert you. You will never be out of touch with Brian.
Every time Brian talks about working out, I'm going to have a bite of my Butterfingers.
Ah, so painful.
That's got to be loud and annoying. I'm sorry.
Hey, man.
Let's jump right in. We haven't done a UFO report.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who sent in their UFO reports. A couple weeks ago, we asked everybody to let us know, to look at the UFO database and show for us what you guys thought were the best, hilarious, awesome UFO reports that there were. And boy, how did we get a bunch of them? And sorry for taking so long to get to them.
Yeah, and keep in mind, when we say the best, these aren't just campfire stories here. These are something that an experience somebody had that hit them profoundly enough that they logged this with the Mutual UFO Network. So these are MUFON-related reports about UFOs. Did you have a favorite one to start with?
Because they got such an awesome database. No, I only kind of perused through them a little bit as they came in. I sent them to Bryce to catalog because he is our awesome producer that has been paid for by you, the listener.
Okay, so we've got and again, this is the genius of Bryce Neshcom Castillo. He'll be the one to let us know if we should read the whole thing or just the highlight. But this one here, the description, this is from Rachel. This is UFO Stalker Report from Cobar, New South Wales. And it says, after researching Dulce Base, went out for lunch, and at 1:04, a plane, very low altitude, around 300 to 600 feet, passed overhead, leaving huge chemtrail. Then another at 1:11, and many more over a period of 3 hours. The sky gradually filled with clouds. Various random, unusual cloud formations appeared, and then I noticed the UFO-shaped one, and was like, this is perfect shape, not a cloud. I took many pictures, my 7 megapixel, and I think some video of all the clouds. By the way, if it sounds like I'm having a hard time reading, it's because it's stuff like sum spelled SUM and pictures spelled PIT. I realized something. There is a mine here that was shut down, right? Don't know why. And now it's filled with water. And there's this big thing pumping it all out. They say the town will collapse if water's pumped out. Lies, I think. Now I swear I've seen a pic of it empty with a military tank in it. Going to find. Right? And strangely, our town has a very high suicide rate. I was told highest in the southern hemisphere. Mind control? Question mark. I'm thinking there may be something here, because the water that fills this open cut mine, if copper sulfate or something, and the copper out of it would be worth millions of dollars. Yet the owners don't care, and is fenced off. I have seen something, a ghost trying to get me there at night. Inside the fence. Note, I was very drunk. So I don't know, but it scared me to death. I'm going to research this further. I don't think it's coincidence that the first chemtrails I have ever seen start when I begin researching secret government stuff. I will continue to research regardless of quote-unquote effects and consequences. 1, I was driving around when at home when I spotted the UFO cloud. 2, its strange shape and I taking photos of chemtrails. 3, it was a perfect UFO shape, so I thought a possible UFO. 4, stationary. Sadly, I didn't observe it for long, so unsure. 5, in my head, my reaction was holy CMS/TG/PD. I don't know what that means. And I think I felt an OMG feeling during and after. 6, I kept taking pictures, and I don't know what happened to it. Clouds are forming in mass, maybe HARP.
All right, let me get this straight. She saw a, quote, chemtrail.
Right.
That's what we call a contrail.
Right.
You know, in the normal part of the world.
Well, in the aviation circles.
Yeah, where the condensation forms as the plane follows through there. And then clouds started to form in this atmosphere shortly after, which one might say that just means that it's, an environment that's conducive to clouds forming.
Well, that's the point, right?
I mean, whatever, if you want to buy that the government, go back to bed, America and the world, sure, yeah, this is what happens with condensation and clouds.
I mean,
Brian, were there any photos attached to that?
I did not see any here.
I sent you some photos to maybe pop up there. Email.
Oh, great. On the Gmail. Here we go. UFO pics. Yeah, I bet this is exactly the kind of thing she's talking about. Now, for those of you watching live, I want you to, in your mind, already prime yourself. You saw some chemtrails. You got like just a weird feeling. You're driving down the highway. You feel like something mysterious is about to happen. And you turn a corner, and sure enough, plain as day, that's what you see in the freaking sky. Tell me that wouldn't freak you out. Or don't.
I mean,
totally.
It certainly looks odd.
What are those kinds of clouds called again, Andrew?
Round clouds?
No, they got like a fancier name.
Clouds?
Here, I'm just gonna type in UFO clouds. I bet it'll give me the proper name.
So the second one is a bit in the original image is a bit more pronounced.
Oh, dude, look at some of these. If you just type in UFO clouds, you get a whole bunch of these. I mean, they really do just like.
But go back for a second to the two that were sent to you.
Sure. Like,
do you know the sources of those?
Oh, is that you?
That was me 2 days ago in UFO country. Mount Hood, right there in the background. Look up. What do I see? Obviously.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh my God! So you got a picture of these clouds in action yesterday.
Yeah, I was funny because I was just sort of like, oh, that's kind of cool, and I didn't stop. I'm like, oh, after the fact, like, oh, maybe I should grab some more photos of it. Let me send you another one here.
Man, look, they got there's some amazing UFO clouds. I am gonna lenticular clouds. That's what they're called. Lenticular clouds are the ones that they create these cylindrical kind of columns. They look like half domes. They look like the classic saucer shape of a UFO if you've ever seen any of those, and especially like at sunset out in the distance, they look like these perfect spheres floating above the horizon. That's amazing. And look at this one. This is like a 5-decker over
Wow.
a mountain here, over Mount Fuji. That's phenomenal.
Well,
And
yeah, and
it's
you saw the one that the first one that I sent was like a triple that at one point was probably right over the mountain, and
yeah,
then
and it looks like it blew off to the side. You're right.
yeah.
In fact, I kind of want to. Do you want to give me a moment? I want to find out how lenticular clouds are formed. Lenticular clouds, according to Wikipedia here, says that they're lens-shaped clouds. That's a great way to put it. That form in the troposphere, normally in perpendicular alignment to the wind direction. Lenticular clouds can be separated into a bunch of blah 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 science stuff. Formation: the air flows along the surface of the Earth and encounters obstructions. These are man-made objects like buildings and bridges. They're natural features like hills, valleys, and mountains. All of them disrupt the flow of air into eddies. So basically, as the air flows over, and just like if you've ever gone canoeing and your oar as you paddle makes a little spinning eddy behind it, that's what happens when the wind blows over a mountain. It makes these little UFO clouds. That's amazing.
That's what they want you to think, Brian.
Yeah, no, whatever, sucker.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
and you bring up a good point too, because like if conditions are right to form contrails, then oftentimes that means the pressure is such that clouds are easy to form with a difference of pressure.
But also, it's like the idea that this is abnormal or special to us is kind of odd when you really break it down. Because why do we think that clouds look the way they do? It is kind of this amazing phenomenon no matter what. Like, why does the sky look the way that it does? There are times where I wake up and the sky is this like insane shade of like pink and orange that you would, if you were in a movie, characters would look out the window and be like, oh my God, I wonder what's happening. It would be that odd, but we don't really worry about it. These things kind of change and shift all the time. The fact that like there are circular disk clouds that happen sometimes really should be like the least crazy thing in the world.
And that was it's funny because it was random that I took these photos Friday, just driving along and we look out the window and we see that, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even think to take photos. I'm like, oh wait, this might make a good weird things topic. Took the photos, and then randomly we had our topic today brought up that UFO report with lenticular clouds.
The first UFO report. That's amazing.
I didn't try to be a UFO hunter, guys. They just found me.
Yeah. You didn't choose the UFO hunter life. The UFO hunter life chose you. All of these pictures, by the way, could be an album cover for Explosions in the Sky.
Okay.
Gentlemen, I think we could do another UFO report next week. I think we've got some other stuff to jump into here.
Are we going to hold off?
And so I want you guys to keep them coming. JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. If you want to search the UFO database that we went over a few weeks ago, and if Neshcom can throw me the link to that database, I'll be happy to say it here on the show. You can go ahead and send them in, and we'll try to do one for as long as we get good ones, because we certainly like this kind of stuff.
Well, and it's funny because there's always so many different angles to look at it. Like in this case, we got caught up in just the cloud formation stuff, but meanwhile, we could have chatted about the chemtrails aspect and the whole origins of that thing, because it's not the dumbest. I always wanted to blow off people who are like, oh, chemtrails, people just don't understand what contrails are. But meanwhile, it's like there's enough actual, like the government has run operations where they're seeding clouds, and where they have dropped chemicals at different points. But that doesn't mean every time you see a line in the sky that it's mind control juice being sprayed out.
Yeah, probably doesn't mean that.
That's it. Exactly.
Go ahead and roll the dice on it's not that.
So, we want to jump into the EM drive.
Yeah. I need you to explain it to me because I read the article on it and I saw your tweets wherein you casually mentioned, like, yeah, how come nobody's reporting the fact that this essentially means warp drive is possible?
So, we'll back up a bit. So, NASA has an advanced research group or advanced propulsion group headed by Sonny White, who is a very interesting figure who's been out there putting some resources into some areas of research that might be considered fringe, but I think that we should be investigating. I absolutely think that when enough smart people think there might be something to it, then let's look at it. Let's consider it. Let's not just throw it out. One of these things is the EM drive, which is a proposed form of propulsion. And what it is, it's basically a microwave emitter inside of a sealed chamber that somehow manages to move forward. It manages to move in a single direction, even though it's not emitting any mass. And it's not like shooting photons out the back. It's like 1,000 times more powerful than, let's say, a photon rocket. And this seems to violate what we understand about physics, although there's an explanation that says that it uses, basically, it's a like there's a magnetohydro drive, which is like the Hunt for Red October, which is the idea of propelling yourself through the water, kind of like using the water sort of drag you through magnetically. And this says it does it with kind of the quantum foam. And it's
okay. So this is and again, I'm the dumb, and I'm on the outside, and I suspect that you know a little bit more than me. But if I read what articles I did correctly, it's that the reason it looks impossible is because it's able to take energy and without any propellant, without using any fuel up that is dispensed out the back, it's able to achieve some form of propulsion, right? That's the part of why it shouldn't work, correct?
Right. You're not losing any mass, yet you're still moving forward,
right,
which
okay.
would seem to imply that you should, it should be stationary. It shouldn't do this.
Right.
So we have lots of theories to explain why it shouldn't work, but then there's theories, fringe theories explain why it should work. But the most important thing is what happens when you put it in a laboratory and turn it on, because we can sit around arguing, yes or no, does it violate the conservation of momentum or mass, et cetera? Does it move? And NASA, some researchers there a few months ago, or about a year or so ago, did one experiment with it, and they appeared to see that it was moving in one direction. And people said, well, there's so much possibility for experimental error. It needs to be done in a vacuum because it could be some thermal effect. One side could be warmer than the other, which would cause it to move in one direction. So now they said that they've done this. And this, by the way, comes to us from not an official NASA press release. This comes from NASASpaceflightNow.com, or a forum. And people claiming to be from researchers involved in there have put out a paper saying, and not a real formal research paper either, this is more of a lab report saying this is what's happened. They say they've put this into a vacuum chamber and they have measured a very, very strong effect of it moving in one direction. Now this is big. This is big if it's real. As we've seen before with the prior research we've had, the word that, we managed to send a particle around that maybe goes faster than the speed of light, which we all knew wasn't true, but we wanted to know why that wasn't the case. Now here is something that we're all going to say, probably there's experimental error. Probably it's bogus. But it's worth putting some resources into finding out, is it? Because if there is something there, if there is some process that we're previously unaware of how it could work, then, spending a couple $1 million would probably be a good idea if it's being handled by credible, responsible people.
Well, let's also take a look real quick at the narrative reasons why this has gotten so much press and why it has gathered so much fascination. The is it M or EM? M drive?
EM.
EM drive. The EM drive is something that seems to narratively have started in this very I know it's not exactly this, but kook in his garage kind of experimentation.
Perpetual motion machine man guy.
Yeah. Very, very primer, kind of, origin. And now has seemed to move up to a higher, more credible resource with some, heft to it that has seemingly validated it. So when we wonder why this is capturing people's fascination, because it seems like it is progressing through mini bosses. That this is like, oh, okay, another level with more to lose has said that there is something to this. And so now it should advance to the next level. But that's where kind of our narrative brain and our science brain should kind of go two separate ways, because while we kind of want it to keep going and keep, validating itself throughout these different trials and systems, you have to actually show the work and repeat it over and over and over again for us to really get excited about it.
So they've said that there's been independent verification at some other laboratories, but again, there's not been a formal paper yet that's been submitted. What the implication here is exciting is the idea that if this works, and there may be some mechanism we haven't been aware of, whatever, if this works, it means you can get to Mars in weeks. It means you can get to the outer planets in under a year. It means that the solar system becomes much, much more accessible using power sources that are conventional today. Taking something off of a nuclear submarine, a nuclear reactor off of one of those, and popping it into a spaceship would provide you enough power to go to these places.
Yeah, what is it? Like 90% of the entire weight of a rocket is just the fuel to get you anywhere? Like all of a sudden, if that becomes a self-contained, especially for, let's say, a reusable craft that's just going there and back, and you just have to, resupply some energy for fission in there, and then you're good to go. That would fundamentally change a lot of things.
Yeah, it means that there's a lot of implications there. And what was interesting in the report that they had, though, at the bottom of the report, they talk about one of the theories of this device is that it might warp space around it to some extent. And they have if you can find the link to the actual account that they put up there, you'll see where they talk about how, I guess, the spectrum of light was bent or changed within some measurable amount in the experimental apparatus. And that's when it starts to get very, very spooky and interesting.
Is this, am I looking at the right article? I looked at the one at nasaspaceflight.com in the end of April 29th, I think, evaluating NASA's futuristic EM drive. But the only reference to spectrum is at the bottom. It says over 27,000 cycles of data, blah, blah, blah. Power spectrum revealed a signal frequency of something.
Go to the one possible explanation, the very back bottom, back down where you were before.
There you go. One possible explanation for the optical path length change is that due to the refraction of the air, the NASA team examined the possibility and concluded it's not likely that the measured change is due to transient air heating, because the experiment's visibility threshold is 40 times larger than the calculated effect from air considering atmospheric heating. Can you translate for me that?
So when they're saying the optical path length means how long does it take light to move through this field that they've created? And they're saying is that it changes it, that it may have a shorter path. I assume that's what they were implying there. It changed it. So basically what they're saying is they're warping space.
Wow. That'd be rad.
So we've got, and that's the problem, though, is we've got one, wow, this is an amazing little discovery here about the EM drive, which is really, really cool. And then, oh, yeah, this thing might be warping space, too, which that's when it gets to be,
And again, we hear you. Yes, unlikely, but, maybe.
Well, but it's like, this is really the DNA of this podcast. Yeah, sure, it's probably unlikely, but this drive to find out whether or not it's unlikely, and either to safeguard our zeal for the impossible or to actually, dare we say, find the impossible, is the whole reason why we do this show. It is the spirit for which if we contribute anything positive to the body of discussion, it hopefully is that. Is yes, you should chase it down with equal verve if to disprove or to find to be true.
Now, what have you seen when we saw the? I'm talking about kind of the meta reaction here. When we saw the reports that say neutrinos possibly faster than light response or whatever, we were like, how rad would that be? And we were talking, but universally in the science media, everyone was like, shut up, stop liking this. It's not real. It won't be real. I'm telling you in advance. And then sure enough, it was proved wrong. And they're like, told ya.
Even here, we were like, this isn't real, but this is really cool to think about.
Sure.
We were, I would say that we were appropriately skeptical, yet opening up the door for optimism and saying, it's like, no, the door's locked, the door's shut. There might be a crack, and we'll entertain that possibility because wouldn't it be cool if it was? And it doesn't cost us anything. And I think that, as you pointed out, there is that reaction to everybody stop having fun. It's like, all right, listen. There are people who are going to believe in chemtrails, and next week I think we should do the Black Knight satellite. There are going to be people who are just going to jump all over that no matter what, regardless of the evidence. Where I think our domain expertise is, yeah, we get the science. We understand, we understand why this isn't likely to be true. But let's play a game called What If. Yeah. And let's encourage, when it's relatively sane or responsible, people who have, shown the willingness to go pursue higher education and work in laboratories and facilities and work with other people and participate in the process of science. When those people, the ones who are participating in science, are saying, hey, we found something weird or unusual, then absolutely, let's explore that. Let's indulge that a little bit, because every now and then paradigms, for every 1,000 times that we think the paradigm could be shifted, it's not going to happen. But that one time that it does makes it worth it.
Yeah, man.
Tensor guy who is, very science-minded and an engineer himself says here in the chat room that it could be real, that the idea has been around for long enough and then has held, I guess I'm reading into what he's saying, but has held water for long enough that possibly, I mean, like it's enough to give, at the very least, an emoji shoulder shrug.
Yeah, I think that, again, that it's people who do science things are interested in it, and I think that you get enough people who've done the due diligence to get their PhDs in physics and stuff who are saying, hey, this is interesting to us. It doesn't mean that it's true, but I certainly think that if they're qualified to figure out what's worth pursuing, and I know some physicists, I know some people who are well-trained physicists, absolutely nutty ideas, demonstrably false ideas that you can just pick apart, and it's amazing they got as far as they did. But on the other hand, let's encourage the spirit of discovery.
Heck yeah. And
so,
while we're encouraging things, can we encourage people to head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings and support our little endeavor?
Yeah, man. So here's the deal. What you got to do is head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings. If you dig this show, you can go ahead and support it. Kick in a little bit of money. That's all right. If you ain't got no money, just go ahead and tell a friend. Be our pal. Go on iTunes, leave a review. There's plenty of ways to support the show. But if you got a few extra pennies in your pocket, head on over there and make sure that you keep us doing this show every single week, Sundays at 2 o'clock Pacific time, 5 o'clock Eastern time.
Heck yeah, man. And by the way, we are at a new all-time record. We're creeping up to that fabulous $666 per episode, which will mean that we've hit 1/3 of our goal of a self-sustaining glide ion podcast. That's the science.
So as Tensor Guy pointed out, Popular Mechanics, I'm just looking over here, has you still shouldn't believe in the EM drive. Well, I don't think I believe in it. Not ready to start making T-shirts.
Look, man, yeah, it ain't like we could vote on it to exist or not. What does believing in it have to do with anything? Like, screw you, believe in it. Whatever.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of the thing that I think has frustrated us sometimes. There is this idea that spending time thinking about something on some level equals, if even nascent levels of true, belief or legitimization of it, which is so odd that it's yes, the same people who understand that list the X-Files as among their favorite shows.
Yeah. Can we real quick just look at this headline and just quick side diatribe on this. You still shouldn't believe in the M drive. First of all, if this is a publication of note, if this is journalism, then since when are journalists in the business of telling you what you should or should not believe?
Well, I mean, this is a blog post.
It doesn't matter. It's look, the point is you want to state this in an accurate way. Like the reasons the M drive is highly unlikely. That is a flat way to put it. This you shouldn't believe crap is nonsense.
Well, I mean, yeah. I disagree with the sentiment. I'm totally with you in the sentiment. I would defend his right to write that headline.
That's fine.
It's a blog post that has his big face on it, so it has the characteristics of a column. So it is very well labeled, as kind of his opinion. In my opinion, it's labeled as his opinion. But I am frustrated at the big frowny face of like, people are excited about something. Don't be excited.
What's funny is the subhead should have been the headline. It's a cool idea, but the headlines are getting out of hand again. That's your thesis. The whole thesis of this article is that headlines are getting out of hand. That is a good thesis. I don't understand why you're roping me into it and say that I'm a bad person for believing in a thing. That's dumb as crap.
Yeah, I mean, the subhead is where I get a little upset, because it's like, all right, so is this a critique of journalism? Is this a critique of how?
We could parse this back and forth, but I'm going to move us on.
Fair enough.
Do you see the look of disappointment in my eyes?
I see your eyes.
Yeah, I see your eyes, bro.
Yeah, what's wrong? Is everything cool? Andrew.
Speaking of technologies you have such high hopes for and you're excited about, and then you look at with glee. And not the Apple Watch, Brian.
Okay.
No.
I thought that's where we're headed.
Sometimes you see something, it just captures your heart and makes you soar, makes you feel like you're flying in the air and the world that we're in the future. You're like, yes, we're in the future. And you start flipping off the past, and just, turning around, just flipping off the people behind you. That's not the past.
Sure, yeah.
You ask a gorilla what happened yesterday, they look behind you. You ask me to flip off the past, it's what I do. There was a demo. It was an exciting demo. It was a Microsoft HoloLens demo a few months ago. That were like, hey, listen, look at this. Microsoft HoloLens, boom, they're in the game, right?
Did you try it? Did you?
No. I've been reading every single person who has now tried this. So Microsoft did this amazing demo showing the HoloLens, which looked awesome. You put on this lens, this setup. You look all around your room, and Minecraft is everywhere. Walls fall away, and there's a Minecraft world, and you can play amazing games and carry on. It just overlays. It's augmented reality, overlays virtual reality on top of your reality, which is just incredible, right? So, and we're all like, well, that looks cool, but remember when we saw that Google Glass demo, right? The first Google Glass demo, guys are jumping out of balloons, parachuting on top of buildings, and then BMX biking around, and they're the Google Glass is capturing it. You see this video overlay as you're having conversations with people, and it's like, oh my God, that's so cool, right? And then Google Glass came out, and you find out that no, it's not a 3D thing in front of you. It's a little window that floats off up to the side, up above you here in your corner.
Right.
And we're like, wow, that totally is not what we saw, because in that commercial, you watched it in the middle of the frame, and you kind of assume when you look, that's what you're going to see. Not just this little tiny bubble in the corner here that's sort of not exciting. So Microsoft, so Google Glass came out with a big disappointment, and I feel bad for anybody on this podcast that, well, you got somebody else to pay for it, Justin, so you're okay. It was not the future we wanted. No. So now we're looking at this demo right now for the Microsoft HoloLens, and some guy just walks into his room, pops open a big screen TV, right? He's got a virtual dog next to him, not a real dog, a virtual dog there. And they did a demo on stage, and they had a camera with a HoloLens system built onto the camera so we could see what's going on. And we could see this person walking around, interacting with this blended augmented reality. It was kick-ass. Well, very few people got to do demos of it, and there were some reports about it being kind of cool. Now they've had 100 or so people have been able to do demos at the Microsoft Build conference, and we find the big catch. What the big catch is.
What a dork you look like with the giant helmet on.
No, listen, you do this in the privacy of your home. What difference is it?
The idea is the trade-off. Listen, if the product is worth it, I will wear a big chicken head on my face. Walk around in public if the product's there.
Brian, if you're like, hey, do you want to put the chicken heads and we're all going to meet in a park in Austin and play World of Warcraft or a Lord of the Rings level against real orcs?
Come on. You're talking to a dude who dressed up like Guile in his head's face for 15 years.
Yeah, I'm all in. We're all going to be there, okay? We're going to look like the most, silly
dorky. You can say dorky. That's fine.
No, my political correctness, I had to cross off about 5 different words before I finally got to something I could
Of
use.
course.
So here is what the catch is. You ready for the catch?
Ready for the catch.
Anybody have your phone in front of you?
I
Your
do.
phone?
I do.
Take out your phone.
Yeah.
Take your phone, hold it maybe about arm's length in front of you, or about in front of you, like turn it sideways like this.
All right. Done.
Okay?
Yeah.
Imagine that's the window you're looking through.
Oh my God. Really?
It's got a very, I may be exact, but it's like a narrow field of view in front of you. So you've got
So it's
this
like you're
field of
wearing
view.
blinders. So
you can look through it. I'm like, oh, cool. If I look over here, if I look over there, it's gone. And so they say that if you watch the demos and like you see this woman watching, like there's like a body appears in front of her, and then like she can do this anatomical, like watch the skin peel away and all that. They said, yeah, if you're there, you're going to see the head and the shoulders. When the guy covers his wall, like right now, this guy, he might see the Skype window. He doesn't see the window to the side or the other window there. Even though it's in his field of view, it's not in there. They're saying like he will not see this whole screen. So he just stretched a screen to cover the whole wall.
Wow.
He's not going to see that. This woman's going to see the ears and the shoulder, not the whole body. So
do you see the rest of the room?
you see the rest of the room, but you're looking at these lenses that float in front of you, which I don't know if they're like an LCD shutter that back blocks out like the certain space, so the overlay or whatever. But you have a small little window that you're looking directly in front that you see it, but your eyes can look around and all around it, and you won't see the holograms.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. There it is right there. They're showing right now where the hologram is visible. You have the entire field of view, and it's like a quarter of the entire field of view is actually hologram visible. Everything else is non-enhanced.
Which would be jarring. You know, the difference is in this, we look at this, it looks like it's this consistent reality where you turn this thing on and your room becomes this room. I got this little monocle that I get to look through and see it and not see the rest of it.
Here's my question with this kind of stuff.
I give up, guys.
No way. Don't give up. Don't give up.
No.
The dream is alive.
Don't. So with these kinds of technologies, I don't understand why, and this was with Google Glass and the same thing with HoloLens, why not just keep this stuff more under the radar and let it kind of seep out through kind of like giving it to people to work on it and saying, listen, this is, I mean, like Apple has the Apple TV, right? The idea of where cord cutting is and we're buying stuff via non-cable and satellite providers is a burgeoning reality. And Apple's called that a hobby forever, because they don't want its success or relative lack of success to be tied to Apple and their major other releases that they really say these are the things that you should judge Apple for. Why isn't this a big fat branded hobby, like just a like, hey, we're just tossing this out here? Because I feel like this product, as you've explained it, if looked at as, yeah, you want to know what? We got these R&D departments. We know that stuff is going here in the future. We just want to be part of it. So we're getting this stuff out here into the hands of people who want to develop on it.
So I will say the really cool thing that they have done, the really amazing part of the technology, and I think the reason why they wanted to announce what they've done is this is very different than Oculus Rift. Oculus Rift, Sony Gear, those things they're immersive. You don't see the world around you. You just see the screen, and then they have tracking to figure out where your head is in space. By all accounts, everybody who's done this, Microsoft says the tracking is pretty fantastic. Because it's mapping the room you're in and figuring out where all the surfaces are, which is an incredible achievement. That is an incredible technological achievement to have this one head-mounted thing, not putting dots on the walls, not like with my Oculus Rift setup here. All these other cables.
Sorry, we heard not like your Oculus Rift setup, something about cables. I guess
in Oculus Rift, you've got to have another sensor in front of you. So the Microsoft technology is light years ahead of where Oculus is in tracking and being able to put the cameras, because they're using Kinect technology. They've got a really incredible piece of, the system in there that can map your room you're in and then overlay. So that's incredible. The disappointing part is we only get this tiny little screen. And I'm sure there are very practical reasons for why that's the case. But as Justin pointed out, Apple having, the hobby approach or whatever, to do that demo the way they did, it feels like a lie.
Well, it feels like Microsoft.
But they've got I'm rooting for that company in the biggest way.
Listen, anybody who's listened to the Daily Tech News Show, I have every single week in and week out, we have stories that illustrate that indeed Satya Mania is running wild. What you gonna do when Satya Mania runs wild on you? They are doing great stuff under Nadella's leadership. I think that they are certainly a company that is heading in the right direction. The problem is that Microsoft is the boy who cried wolf with this stuff, right? They are the kings of vaporware.
Yeah, and I back to your original question, Andrew, of why not keep it quiet. I mean, the answer is because they're publicly funded, and they know that there's millions of more dollars of investment in stock prices.
I don't have a problem with. I don't think they should keep quiet.
Wait, hold on. Is it publicly funded? Would mean they're government funded, privately funded. I guess privately funded.
You mean publicly traded, yeah.
But you publicly traded. That's where I was. Yeah, they were.
I don't think that should be necessarily secret, but that demo they released is not what you get to. That's just like for my own. Like I had this excitement, and then it's like, oh no, that's not what it is. It's like, I had such high hopes, and now they're dashed.
Yeah,
because
it's just there's a way to get the press you want. Releasing a big demo and making it a big part of your keynote, one of the first keynotes of note under the Nadella regime, that's a big spot. That's where you would announce an Xbox. That's where you would announce a new. I mean, that's where they did announce the new Windows operating system. And if you during that press conference, you make a little. You bring in a few friendly journalists, people that you know are going to give you a fair shake. You put that demo on their head. You show them that, and you let them rave about this, like, oh, my God, they've cracked tracking. Oh, my God, they've cracked surface recognition. Oh, my God, they've done this, that, and the other. And it's going to come out sometime in the next year and a half. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a build, and you set your leadership up to say, all right, guys, no, listen, we're really excited about it. We've been working with it forever, but it's not ready to go yet. We're doing a lot of iterations. We hope to continue to show people what this is going forward. And so when this comes out and it's like, okay, it's everything that we knew, but it's just a field of vision, we look at it as that's way better than Google Glass. That's way better than anything that's publicly available right now, instead of you promised us a pony and all we got was a mini horse.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I never really I always expected, ever since any of our conversations about it, that there would be some kind of severely crippling hiccup or hitch to it. Like I always felt like there was going to be a trick in there. And if the trick turns out to be that the field of view is smaller than we'd like for, to eventually get to, then yeah. But I mean, it's like, it's a Gen 1 product, and at least it's a Gen 1 product that, granted the screen isn't as big or as wide as we'd like. It apparently is doing the thing that it claims, right?
Well,
I guess it's how you interpret that video. I guess when you watch when you watch that first demo video and you're told this is what the camera sees, and you realize, no, that's not, this is what you see. And now the people, and again, Microsoft still can say, we don't have all the facts, but when you're having the people say, no, that's not your experience. They told you this is what this looks like. This is not what it looks like. That's the jarring part.
This was we talked about Microsoft kind of coming out of nowhere because of the Google Ventures investment, like $500 million. And what's the competitor that's still Magic Leap, right? So it's like they're doing exactly what you're proposing, right, Justin? Where it's like they're keeping it quiet, and on the DL, they're like, we're just doing a thing. Think it's pretty good.
And they have done less than what I had proposed Microsoft do with HoloLens. It is basically just word of mouth, and if to assume that there are leaks, which I would assume.
Don't forget that video they released with Weta.
Well, but before that, you just had this like the buzz in the valley on people that knew that a bunch of money was going into, and then a few kind of guarded quotes that this is going to change everything. Post HoloLens, you saw a bunch of shade coming out from the CEO of Magic Leap, which basically amounted to him, making a fart noise with his mouth and doing the rolling the dice motions. And then they came out with their Weta demo, which had all the audacity, more so than HoloLens. That was, if we were going to look at that as a demonstration of what they can do, it was as if not more ambitious than what HoloLens has promised us. So they've certainly set themselves up where we are going to expect them to deliver quite a bit because they have been reactive to what HoloLens has done.
Yeah, I don't know. But the problem is this is all stuff we were sold in the late '90s, right? I mean, when you'd go to the mall and they'd have some ridiculous faux VR rig, I remember being excited about at the time.
Dactyl
You
nightmare,
want to know
man.
what?
Running on
Look at
two
this.
Amigas.
This is the first time that I've kind of looked at it, but like, you have the motion blur at like it does have its own kind of field of vision that, who knows, how much, what they're trying to say is that you will be able to see very clearly within this, but then outside of it, it will either be degraded or fuzzy.
Yeah, so you've got Magic Leap, which I guarantee you in the next week or so, given when we first saw HoloLens, our prediction was we're going to hear something from Magic Leap because they're going to want to say hey. And I guarantee you this next week or something, we're going to hear something about Magic Leap. Well, our field of vision is this, and I think they're going to kind of throw more shade on it. And then there's another one, I think Technical Illusion is another company that they've got a demo out of their video. If you want to look up Technical Illusions and see theirs, you can see their demo video of what they're promising, which is it's a bit of an awkward video, but it's got the technology. And again, the gear looks very unsexy, but
which
the play
one?
looks
Technical Illusions Inc. or Unstable
Cast,
Elements?
the Cast AR. That's
Cast
their,
AR. Got it. All right,
yeah.
so we're looking at it now. I haven't seen this at all. What's their story? They're another competitor?
Another company building their own system for doing this augmented reality. And so, glasses are on. They're looking at a 3D model of a building on top of a blueprint.
You are not kidding. That is only 2 shades below wearing a gigantic chicken head.
Their glasses are they're like zany zappers from the 1980s.
Yes.
But the gameplay looks. Here's a kid and his stole.
See, now this
small
does
glasses.
look very believable. This looks like somebody made the mistake of showing what the product would actually look like.
Yeah, so the kid steals his mom's gear.
Lying.
He's doing a shoot 'em up. The daughter's now playing some tabletop game on top of watching soldiers and figures move across it. Now she's shooting, and it's like a little it's like building a little 3D model on top of a table and being able to play and move things around. Now Dad stole it, and now he's looking at the ping pong table covered with a tablecloth, and he's got a whole workspace there that he can use, which doesn't seem the most practical way to do that kind of work. But who am I to judge?
Of course, that's of course what all dads would do with a VR thing after all the right?
Do you think that's so cliche as if to kind of point out that that's not what Dad's going to use it for?
Yeah. No, oh no, it won't.
Youngest daughter stole it, and she's now playing a paper airplane navigating game. And now the mom goes to check her purse to make sure that the VR goggles are there. Which I guess they're saying, listen, a family won't be able to afford it. You have to have somebody work at a place where they can buy it, and
right? And then you're going to have to steal it all around. You can't all have your own.
Yeah, it's like a 1982 portable computer sort of commercial,
Yeah, I don't know. I think that to be honest, I'm kind of tuned out. Knock on my door in 5 more years, maybe 10 more years, and it'll actually be what we actually want.
So apparently that one.
I'm excited for Microsoft in this. This is not them getting to the market way too early and declaring like, well, people don't want tablets. We tried. Anyway, peace out. And then tablets become gigantic, 8 years after, and they're just kind of left holding their dingles and saying, well, we tried. Everybody hated them. Oops. It's society's fault, not us. So it seems like they are in at least the right time frame. They certainly have the brains, and I'm a believer in Satya. I'm a believer in Satya mania. I'm a Satya maniac. I think that they have their priorities in line. I hope that HoloLens continues to develop, but for HoloLens' sake, if this is not out for a year and a half, and the specs at launch are better than what these demos have been, I think it'll be a better product, and I think that's where Microsoft, if they are indeed a changed company, needs to continue to lead is over delivering as opposed to under delivering based on expectations.
Yeah. I'm excited that we have so many companies trying to get into this space.
Carl in the chat room says, in before Ashley makes 10 virtual birds, which will certainly happen.
So talking about Gen 1 products, do you want to, Justin, when are you supposed to get your Apple Watch?
Never. I'm doomed to live without it forever because Apple hates me and everybody around me is getting one and I don't have one and I'm not upset about it.
It's just, so it's showing you this isn't
I'm not upset. Brian, I'm not upset. I'm sick of people saying I'm upset. All right? There's no problem with it. Sure, it just takes a little longer for me to get mine. Everybody has theirs. Okay? All right? I'm not upset.
So there's some things that are really curious to me that are very un-Apple about the Apple Watch launch. The main one of which
I don't have it on day one. Is that the problem? Yeah. All these other devices I've had at day one. Not upset.
Like for example, they very carefully explained the reason that there's a digital crown, a button knob, whatever, is because it's not, it's difficult to be precise in your actions on the screen. That's why they added this thing, is because pinch and zoom doesn't make sense on a small screen and being precise is difficult. And then they turn around and say that, and now, of course, the reason that you need it is so that you can draw little tiny pictures to someone on this amazingly tedious screen. Like, I wanted to just write a single 5-letter word and wasn't able to do it or send it to anyone because it was the screen thing was not precise on it. But anyway, that's it's just schizophrenic. Like
they said. I mean, and I'm not going to say that I'm in love and I see the why. It's one of those things where I look and I go, why did they do this? I'm like, and I tell myself, they probably have very good reasons that I don't appreciate, understand, because I hadn't spent 5 years developing it like they did. But they did say the reason they did the digital crown was also so that you could look through things without covering it with your finger as you're scrolling through lists. Okay. And that was the key reason, is that, you're not like, because if you put your finger over it, you lose half the screen when you're scrolling through. You can still scroll through.
I will say this much, and I'm not going to blame Apple. I am going to blame Apple. I'm not going to blame all. Like right now, the most obviously broken ass part of the watch is all of the bugginess in all of the apps. And all of the poor design decision that have happened in the apps. It's almost as though everyone had to design their app with no single developer having the ability to actually try it out on a watch, which, by the way, is exactly how they all had to develop their apps. And specifically, right now, the one thing I was excited, the moment I got it, I went for an extra run because I knew it would be integrated with the Map My Run service that I use, and I love it on my app on my Pebble. And so I'm out running, and while I'm running, so you're picturing like you're on mile 3 and you want to know how you're doing. So you look at your watch and you realize you lifted it too fast, and it's like you have to hold it steady while you're running and then twist it just right so that it turns on, and then it's like, oh great, now it's showing the clock. It's showing the clock. I don't want the clock, so let me still running. Let me click the thing. No, not that one. Let me switch this. I gotta go.
Just double tap to go to the last app you had open.
Okay. Right. The first move you have to do is you look at your watch, and all you want to know is how far you've gone. So you lift up your watch. First thing you see is a clock. And you're like, I don't care about a clock. I care about the fact that I'm running, and I'm running. Watch. You should know better than to show me the time. So fine. So I double tap, and it opens up the app. It says you've been running for 3 minutes or for 30 minutes. I'm like, don't care about that. Swipe over. And it's like, your pace is whatever. Like, don't care about that. Swipe over while you're running.
Right.
And then you.
Is it the watch or the app? Is this the different?
It's the app. It's dumb. It's dumb.
Which app
dumb.
Is this?
It's the Map My Run app, but all of these.
So it's not the Apple app. That's a different. Okay, gotcha.
No. Yes, this is my right. Okay, so you. The point is they build it in while you're running that to access one bit of information you have to go through literally 5 different menus to get there, and then once you get there, your brain, your watch has the brain of a goldfish, and then the next time a mile later you look at your watch, it's like, oh, you want the time again? Here's the time. And you're like, no. And then you get to do it all over again. And it's like, it's just dumb, dumb.
We need to parse this, though, because that sounds like a horribly designed app. Okay? I've had wonderful experience with the Yelp app. Yelp on the watch is fantastic. We're driving somewhere. Where do you want to eat? I open up the Yelp app, and it gives me 4 options. And I can press one is for restaurants, one is for bars, one is for coffee, tea, hot. I click restaurants, and it'll tell me I have the ratings for the one 100 feet away from me, immediately. It is a wonderfully designed app because what they've done is they said, if you're on your watch, what information do we need to give you right away? They stripped down what Yelp does on the phone and said, let's make a great version of Yelp for the watch. And it's perfect. I think for me, I go, oh, this is wonderful because I click, boom, I know we can be driving and we can see a restaurant. And I go, oh, let me just open up Yelp. And I've got the reviews of it in 2 clicks. That app that you have there, poorly designed, absolutely poorly designed.
But this is these are just indicators of an immature ecosystem. This is stuff that they're working on for the first time. For example, meanwhile, keep in mind, I'm coming from Pebble, which is a fairly mature smartwatch ecosystem. They figured out things, for example, once you start running, when you look at your watch, it will only show you. It doesn't even care about the time. And it shows you everything all in one screen. It doesn't make it pretty. It says you've run. It's been this amount of time. This is your current pace. This is the number of miles you've run. All available at a glance, and you never have to touch your watch or when you're riding or running or any of that stuff. I suspect all of it will get better, but it's like it's just hard to be in what feels like a very beta phase for this. And even again, and this is not fair to compare to a mature ecosystem to an immature one, but like on the Pebble, when a text comes in across the room, I know that I only have to wait a half second and then just glance at my watch and I'll see what the text says. That's not the case right now. It's a text comes in, and first I feel it vibrate, but I can't just look. I have to. The vibrate says you have a message and it's in. Then I have to properly execute the looking at my watch move. Then it just shows me the icon of the text icon and says the message is from Twitter. And it's up to me to click on it. Again, another phase I have to do. I have to do it and I have to scroll. And if there are any previous messages, I have to scroll through all those previous messages down to the bottom and then manually dismiss it in order to see it. There's just so much touching and moving that's unnecessary. And
are there dials on the notification stuff? Like, can you change the notification settings?
I'm sure I'm using it all wrong, but I didn't have to go through an orientation video for the Pebble.
No, and it's not the Pebble, and it does things very different than Pebble, and it does things Pebble cannot do. And Pebble's got a fantastic battery life that this is. By the way, battery life on this has been great for me. It's a very different thing, but there absolutely are the notifications. You can change that, adapt that, and you can go to. Like I go to glances when I want to see Twitter. I click up and boom, and there's my Twitter. So that's how I do it. And so I guess it's if you walk into a platform wanting to be the other platform, it's not going to be that. And I think there are flaws. There are problems where I run into it and I don't get why they did it. And I assume that they have reasons for it. And I do think some apps I've had on here are horribly designed and some are wonderfully designed. And it's been a very mixed bag. And people ask me, I didn't fall in love with this thing like I did my iPhone or my iPad or my MacBook. Absolutely have not fallen in love with like those other things. But as I'm with a week with it now and I look at it, how do I use it on a trip? I'm like, oh my God, the thing that it used to be, pull out my phone, do all this sort of stuff, so much easier just to pull out this. Maps, middle of a national park. I press a button, boom, oh, that's where we are. And so it's everybody's case is going to be different. That was my prediction. And I hold to it.
And for the record, I'm fine with adjusting and learning a new language. I understand it's a different thing, and I don't want to be the guy that's like, well, I like the one thing, and I want to stick to the one thing. I understand that it's me that's broken. I need to understand what song they're singing. But meanwhile, it is an awkward transition, especially when I can't for the life of me understand the logic outside of because it looks good for it to, for example, do things like, as far as I could tell, on all of these watch faces, there's not on a single one a battery level icon on any of them.
Yeah, I've got mine right here.
Which watch face are you on?
I'm on. When you choose complications, you can add a complication that says battery life.
Choose complication. What is a complication?
When you have anything on a watch that doesn't say what the time is.
Okay. Well, look, see, I'm looking at all the default watches, and none of them have the battery life. Right now, the way I've been checking battery life has been to swipe up and then go through all of the things to figure out the one that says how much battery is left on
Yeah,
there.
I mean, you can press down on it where it says the thing when you go to change it says customize. You can add that, so you can add like I have mine is I don't know if you can see mine.
Yeah, I guess also the peekaboo nature.
So back down in the corner there, that's where it says that's my battery life at
Okay,
92%.
so I guess it's available. It's just not enabled by default on any of them, if I'm understanding.
Perhaps, yeah. And again, it's an extremely customizable thing, and you might, if Pebble, you might be just more happy with Pebble. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I have an Android device. I pick up my Android device, and I see all the little things that people can do with an Android device that I can't do with my iPhone. None of them do I want to do. But I get why people like them, and I get why people like Android, and I'm not like, you guys are wrong, my one true religion of my iPhone's correct. No, iPhones for me, Android's for them. This watch might grow for you, or it might not. Apple may have just left you on the side of the road.
Well, no, I
here's
hope it
the one
does.
thing that I think Apple has made very clear at their announcement was that this was they were very clear to say this is the most personal device that they've created. Now that's a double-edged sword, because if it is personal and it is not exactly what you want, it is very close to being a pebble in your shoe, which is very personal. If it is exactly what you want, then it is something that aids your life without you thinking about it, because it integrates exactly with your thinking. It's a very unique problem, I think, to solve, to say, okay, what exactly do I want? And it can't be as one size fits all as the iPhone was, or even the iPad was. The iPad being kind of a new vertical, and the iPhone being just, oh wait, a competent phone? Like this exists in a world for which I do not know. This is amazing. Like, so I don't have one. I'm not upset about it.
I will say that there are two functions that I'm so thrilled are built in. Number one, the built-in ping to find your device. The fact that wherever you are, you can just run over and then click where the heck is my freaking phone, and then it just shouts out, I'm over here doing that stuff. Like, that's huge. And the first time I took a call on my wrist was magic. It took 20 plus years to get here, but finally it happened.
I was talking to Andrew on it yesterday, and I was shocked that was a speakerphone. It sounded great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I get frustrated. Like, you can only have like 12 friends that you can do the little photo. You can, automatically like press and share like pictures. And it's like, why? I mean, and it's funny because when you have one, all of your friends that also have one, you immediately are going to get asked to do demos. You'll be talking to someone, and all of a sudden a picture appears on your watch, and I've got to send / film a drawing so he can show somebody this. I've got to do this back and forth. So it's kind of funny the way that works.
Big shout out to my buddy Steve Kovac from Business Insider. He is one of their tech editors. He did a great week on review of the Apple Watch, which I very much enjoy his writing, because he always appears less to be interested in being the most like lyrical on subjects, but I do trust his point of view. The summation of his thing was that he very much liked it. He thinks that the apps need to undergo a sea change in terms of, like, the ones that get it are magic, like Yelp, Uber. Uber seems to be, in places where people use Ubers a lot, just exactly where the future is headed. Just strip down your service to the one button solution and magic happens, as opposed to trying to port an entire experience into this postage stamp on your wrist. But that it is a watch, it is a watch that does amazing things. It's not a replacement for your phone. It's not, anything else. And then if it grows to become something other than that via apps, which he seems to think is likely, and I would tend to agree, then it'll be great. It'll be a better product than it is, because it'll have the ability and profit motivation for developers to expand faster than, let's say, things like the Pebble or the Android Wear, just based on usage numbers.
Yeah, well, and that's why, because John's in the same position as you are, Justin. He's waiting on his, and it's like I don't want to crap on it, but there's some
Brian,
very
it could be worse.
ones.
You could be John or Justin.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that.
Do you guys want to do picks?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Amazon Deadly app there. You just press a button and you name something, and you can press one button and order it.
Oh, really? Fully half the apps that I was excited about just don't work. The Shopify app doesn't for example, if I click on it right now, it says, yeah, you should log into Shopify. And I'm like, that's not what I asked. You're supposed to be connected.
There was a great thing I saw on Twitter today, which I think it was like My Transit Times or something.
Yeah.
And so it's an app that just gives you public transportation transit timetables. And in their latest build, it said, Carl, thank you for your feedback. Now the app works correctly and you will see new times show up immediately. Everybody not Carl. Thank you for having patience with us and not sending us your angry heartbeat every 10 minutes.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, like the Pictures app shows me just 2 random pictures. Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong on that too.
Brian, my results are very different than yours.
Yeah. Well, user error likely. But at any rate, yeah, in progress. We'll see.
All my photos. Let's do picks, as we said. I'll go first. I have a pick. I watched this last night. It is the movie Tracks. It's on Netflix streaming right now. It's about this Australian girl in 1970, a woman in 1975, decided she was going to take a herd of camels across Australia, a journey that's basically equivalent of one side of the United States to the other. It also has Adam Driver in a supporting role, but it's mainly about here. It's Mia Wasikowska stars in it. Really based on a true story of this woman who made this journey across Australia, and why she did it, what motivated her to do it, and the trials and tribulations of doing it. And I dug it, so it's on Netflix streaming right now.
Heck yeah! What about you, Justin?
I'm gonna go with a documentary that I watched the first half hour of today called All or Nothing at All. It's on HBO Go and HBO Now. It's about Frank Sinatra. It was directed by Alex
King of Pop.
Yeah, by Alex Gibney, who apparently at some point was given the Medal of Documentaries by President Obama, and he was crowned the only man who can do documentaries. You might remember Alex Gibney from us talking about the Scientology documentary that he just did. He's like working on 7 documentaries at a time. This is I'm a huge Sinatra fan. I've read a bunch about him. This is a well done documentary. Alex Gibney is a great documentarian. I tend to enjoy his non-political stuff more than I enjoy his political stuff. And this is certainly that. It does a good job of going into it. It's long. It's like 4 hours. It's a little, it was described. I started listening to it because they mentioned it on Harmontown, and they described it as very friends and family, which it is. There are elements to Frank's personality that aren't quite spelled out in the ways that they are in some of the other stuff, including just how much of a sycophant he was to some of the mobsters that he sucked up to, and some of the machinations that it took to kind of make him the star that he is. But all that being said, Sinatra's a fascinating personality, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. So if you like Frank Sinatra and you like good documentaries, check it out. All or Nothing at All, 2 parts, each 2 hours on HBO.
I'm reading right now. I don't know how good or important it is, but I know that I'm glad that I from what I've read so far, but I'm reading Spam Nation by Brian Krebs, which I believe was a Twitter suggestion from someone, where he dives into the world of cybercrime and these. He's the editor in chief of KrebsOnSecurity.com, and he talks about how he gets the information that he got and the adventures of flying out to Russia and to seeing the warring factions within the spam communities, former spammers turned anti-spammers using spam-like tactics to basically bog down the services of spammers so that they don't get very productive and essentially spamming the spammers. It's fascinating stuff, and it's not necessarily what my go-to book, but I'm glad that I'm in it. I think I'm really digging it.
Cool. Very cool. I'm in the middle of the Bob Hope biography. When I finish that, I'll give you guys my thoughts on that.
Right on.
It's a guy that lived to be 100 years old. 100.
Man, Bob Hope, he's a fascinating character.
Yeah. Gentlemen, it's been weird.
We're at 6811 Neshcom, and Bonnie just walked into the room. What's going on, Bon? We've got after things, and Andrew's definitely eating Butterfinger right now. You guys can eat without me. I'll just do a salad or something. Yeah. Wait, unless you want me to cook those steaks. Do you want me to cook those steaks? If you don't hold off, I can. I'll tell you what. If you fire up the grill, in a half hour, I'll come down and I'll cook those steaks. It's 5:30. Cool. All right. We'll give it 15 minutes and then fire up the grill. All right. And remember that the third grill is broken, Bonnie, and will blow you up if you turn it on. The third one. That's why I said blow you up from the left to the right. It'll blow me up. Well, it'll melt the yeah. If they're labeled 1 through 4, turn on 1, 2, and 4. From the left to the right. Yeah. Turn on 1, 2, and 4.
What about ONETWO?
Oh, you landed on the red gem. I can't believe it. Ah. All right, so now I'm looking for man, there's parts of the watch that really are just unbelievably cool, which only frustrates me more when I get to the other parts. Date. Yeah, I guess this face doesn't have a...
Did you just call it like it's a thing on your wrist? And then you can decide what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah, right? Avoid the word watch at all. And
I even switched to my right hand to see if I like that better.
I wonder also if how soon it'll take before the battery's good enough that we can lose this peekaboo stuff.
It seems very aggressive with that. Like, given I've had here it's 3:30, I'm at 91%. So I don't know.
Oh, for titles, Neshcom's asking. He suggests I'm not upset and round clouds. I like I'm not upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand why there's almost a political aspect to a release of this kind of thing, where it's like, on the one hand, do we increase the usability of it by having it, easy to, look at for long periods of times, or do we, prevent against the backlash of battery duration by hiding it more? And it seems like they're leaning more towards the other. I mean, I tell you what, it is gorgeous. I mean, there ain't no doubt about that.
Let me ask you a question. How's battery life been on your 6 Plus?
Oh, great. Multiple days. Like the vast majority of the time when I'm using my 6 Plus, I'm using it for constant nonstop audiobooks. Literally all day, every day. Every time I'm working out, every time I'm doing anything menial, I'm listening to audiobooks. I can go all day listening to podcasts and audiobooks and go to bed with it still at 2/3. Yeah,
that's been my case. I've had I will fall asleep in the middle of the street before my iPhone 6 Plus dies. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I need to be recharged before it does.
Well, and lately I'm even able to do like nutty stuff. Like I'm going to bed listening to Netflix, especially like on Daredevil with the audio description track, the visual descriptions. That makes it to where I can say I'll watch the episode for reals tomorrow, but let me just kind of fall asleep listening to what happens, and I'll turn it on, and then it becomes a radio play for me that I fall asleep to. And long after I fall asleep, it plays, probably the entire hour, and then eventually shuts itself off. But then I wake up, and there's still plenty of battery on there.
How far are you into Daredevil?
I've got the last. Bonnie and I are going to watch the last episode tonight. I have like 30 minutes of the episode before it to get caught up on.
I've described it as Marvel Comics meets The Wire.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, because I remember early on, we were like, oh, it's like this kind of law show or whatever. And the first couple episodes were like that. And I'm like, wait, Brian, wait. Because that's what I liked is it didn't settle into this sort of,
Have you finished it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we real quick put up the shield of spoilers for anyone watching?
Spoiler shield.
And it's a minor spoiler, but I love the fact that they gave a full episode to deal with the coming out to Foggy of everything.
Yeah.
Because in real life, that's a big emotional deal to somebody who have been such good friends for so long and have been through so much together to feel like it's a lie. And it's like it needed a full episode to breathe, which I really, really dug.
Yeah, I can imagine if I were to reveal something like that to my friends when I do, that it could, yes.
Just know that it'll be a big
But no, it's
deal.
in your own interest, Brian.
I did love the smash cut to Foggy waking up in his old girlfriend's bed. Like in a desperate bid to deal with this, he goes back to that.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, when Andrew admits to me and you, when Andrew calls me and admits that he has been a superhero for all these years that I've known him, it will be such a yawn from me that we will be talking about what's on the Drudge Report within 10 minutes. So, it's like, by the way, I've been patrolling the streets. Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Anyway. It's like those people that come out as gay, and you're like, yeah, I knew it before you did. I'm glad you finally figured it out.
Yeah.
Justin,
sure?
how far are you into Daredevil?
Me?
Yeah.
Still at the pilot. I haven't watched. Dude, I've been doing.
No, look, you got reasons. That's fine.
It's
just because you got that Apple Watch you've been playing with.
Oh, jeez, dude,
I'm sorry,
dude. He's a race car in the red.
Upset? I'm not upset. I just want everybody to know that I'm
He's
not
a race car in the red. Hey, so we've got Steak Watch happening downstairs. So if we could jump into
right
after
in.
thing.
I've got a question that was sent to us a while back, and I lost it, and I found it again.
Okay, all right, take it away, boss.
Hey, everybody, welcome to After Things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hello, beautiful people.
Justin Robert Young.
Yo.
So, After Things is where we kind of talk about being a creative person, developing your own path, and figuring things out, which we're all trying to do ourselves. And a few weeks ago, actually more than a month ago, we got a great question from Ken Peleshok and Peleoshok. Peleshok. That's how the name is spelled.
Ken's been a long-time supporter.
Ken's a regular.
Yeah, he's the best.
He has an awesome last name that sounds like a prehistoric creature that would eat crocodiles.
Yeah.
So Ken wrote, he says, and we've touched upon this a little bit, but here's the full thing. I was wondering, perhaps it's an After Things topic. If you had any advice on overcoming that gap in perceived quality associated with self-published or self-produced content. I was at Toronto Comic-Con last weekend, a month ago, my fault, and there were many sad-looking people trying to sell their self-published books, comics, videos, etc. As an inspiring author, I approached them all with an open mind. Some of the stuff looked very good. Some of it was sad. When the con closed, it looked like most of them were packing away boxes full of unsold goods. Regardless, whether they were talented or delusional ones, they seemed to leave a lot more unsold product than cash. Assuming I don't somehow land a huge book deal tour, how do I avoid this fate? I don't particularly care how my books are sold. or even that they are sold so much as they actually are read? Also, how can I tell whether I'm one of the talented or delusional ones?
Man, can I tell you the big secret of publishing success? And
Yes, please.
I'll tell you my theory about it, and you could tell me whether or not I'm right. And you're probably not going to like hearing it, but it's better to know it than not know it. If you look at the New York Times bestsellers, the top selling books outside of your Stephen Kings, your Dean Koontzes, and your Andrew Maines, oftentimes, especially in nonfiction, are all people who are famous and beloved for something besides the book. Dave Ramsey hits number one on the bestseller list because he hosts a daily financial talk show where he gets people calling in and gives financial advice. And he has millions. He's number 3 in the entire country. And when he gets around to writing a book saying essentially the same stuff that's in this other platform, everybody buys it and they all buy it at the same time and it hits number 1 on there.
I will put a contrary point of view out there, though, Brian. It's easy to look and see that this person sold a lot of books and this person's famous, but when you look at all the famous people that write books that don't sell,
that's true.
It's huge. It's huge. You know, like when I had my book Angel Killer come out right at the same time as my TV show, my publisher was like, "Can you write a letter explaining why you wrote this book so people know that you wrote this book? Because we have a problem where celebrities writing books that aren't good, and it's not an automatic bestseller. In more cases than not." It's not. Dave Ramsey wrote a good book. Dave Ramsey has a TV show because he has good content. When you get people going into other areas, you get O'Reilly writing fiction. From what I understand, his fiction's pretty good. He works with a good co-author. It's a pretty good novel. And so being famous can help good rise to the top. If it's crap,
that's a very good point. That's the prerequisite is that it be good. But on top of that, and I'm going to use you as an example. When you and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, but like you knew when it came to going to these conventions with publishers and book buyers or whatever, you knew that you needed to do more than say, "I wrote a very good book. Please read it." You brought the show. You brought Andrew Main to those events, and you performed magic at them, and you engaged them, and you told stories about your television show or whatever.
Oh, if I was able to charge my publisher for what I did for them to promote my book, would I charge a corporate client for what I did?
Exactly, right?
It would be. I mean, but that's part of building the brand. Now, in Ken's question, though, going to like when you're at one of these comic type conventions or whatever. You control it. Somebody comes up to your table and they see this. And I'm going to give you some examples of here people I think that, and I mean, first thing we talk about on a previous one is avoid using the word buy, buy so-and-so, which I did early on. And that's one of the hallmarks that it doesn't mean, there are pro books that say buy, this is written by so-and-so, but it's the exception, not the rule. That you have to, does your product look professional? And, more importantly, does it read professional? And so many things that come out are not well done. People write it, and then as soon as they finish it, they're in a hurry to put it out there in the world and not put it through the process to make sure that it gets better. They just want a miracle to occur. They're like, "Oh, I said the magic words, now let fortune find me." And that's not what it means. It means hard work. I know when I write a book, as soon as I finish that book, I call it a first draft. The first, because there will be many drafts that come after that, and I don't just go, "Hey, I'm done," slap a cover on it and put it online. And that's the number one mistake I think people make. As soon as it's done or it's barely done, they just put it out there.
Well, I guess let's talk real quick about the in the moment nature of here. I just widened up the shot for you. Like it's one thing. Like let's say you made a good book and you believe in it, and now all of a sudden you're going to this convention where people buy books, and whether it's a Dragon Con or a fan convention or whether it's a professional convention, all of a sudden you find yourself in what amounts to a 10-foot by 10-foot cubicle in a sea of cubicles, and you need to get people to buy your book. The worst thing you can do is say, "Hey, you should buy my book." And if what you want them to do is to buy, what you need to do is tell a story and give a performance. And granted, it is a one-on-one performance. You are performing as if you're doing a one-man radio show, but it is for the one person live that you're saying. You're like, hey, man, I want you to wrap your mind around this. What if a serial killer knew magic and used magic to make people go crazy because all he wanted was to see the world burn and watch chaos on there? What if the only thing that could stop him was the daughter of a magician who grew up within magic and left that world and ended up joining the FBI? Imagine, and then you tell a vignette or whatever, and by the time you're done talking, they feel like they've been given a gift of this sketch. And then it's like, and it's only $5 or $10 or whatever it is. And then it's like, at that point, you want to have them feel like they owe you something for the experience of having heard just the sketch of your story, is what I would recommend. I don't know.
Can I take a slightly more meta look at the question? Because I think this is oftentimes a problem that short circuits people when they want to get into something, and everything is so daunting that you tend to staple a lot of different questions together and act like they're one question. So it's like, how do I not be the guy at the comic book convention that's bringing home more unsold stuff than money and their stuff sucks? That's the question, right? But within that, that's like asking Frodo Baggins, how do you stop the forces of Mordor while he's sitting in the Shire? Like you have
get the Eagles to take you.
Yes, exactly. You have to do a million different steps in between. Like there are so many different elements of that journey before you get to the point where you're able to say, like, okay, I have a product that I'm happy with. I have a strategy that I like. I have a price point that I'm happy with. I have a following. I have it is a calculated risk for me to go to this convention because I know people that sell similar things to me sell X amount of them, and that is about what I'm going to pay for this table. I'm going to split a table with somebody as opposed to buying one myself. Like, there's a million different questions that go into this kind of one thing.
Agreed. And I think that his last question was, how can I tell if I'm delusional or talented? And I think that, one, you're never going to know. That's the step number one. Have a process. This is what I say before. Have a process. I finish a book. I love parts of it. I don't like parts of it. My next step is I give my book to two people. I give them to my agent, Erica Silverman, and I give it to Justin Robert Young, and I wait to see what they come back to me. And I try to take the approach of David Copperfield. He's a hero to us. David Copperfield, if you go see him after a show and he knows you, he'll say, what didn't you like? He doesn't want to hear you go, oh, this is great. He wants to know, what didn't you like? Because he wants to know, if you say, I didn't get this part or I didn't get that part, he's going to try to make that better by the next show. And that's what you need to know, is you need to care about, want to know what other people love so you know it's good, but you want to know, what didn't you like? I have an editor whose job is to tell me what didn't work, not to put gold stickers all over the book and hand it back to me.
Well, and that's a huge part of it. And that's like getting the quality of a product up to where you need it to be is probably the biggest thing, because all the confidence that you need that is required to have conversations like, should I go to this convention? Can I confidently talk to strangers about buying this thing? Comes from the confidence of you completing a project and understanding that you want to get it out into the world. It's putting the cart before the horse to say, hey, I want to be well read. I want my writing to be out there. If you don't feel fully confident that you know how to start a conversation based on a product that you feel confidence in.
So I want to throw out here something I thought of, because let's say you've got something you think is good, covers, like the artwork's good, it looks professional, people around you say, yes, this looks professional, and they feel comfortable telling you this too, because that's something people are like, oh, everybody tells me it's great. Well, are you the kind of person they can tell you it sucks? Most people aren't. Most people, your friends, can't tell you it's not good, and you will never know. And if you want to live in the bubble, you think everything's right, they will entertain that bubble, they will let you keep that bubble. Assuming that it's good and that it's quality, that people who are smart give you good feedback, you've used that feedback, and maybe you've tested it on an audience and you have a reason to think it's good. Let's say you go to a convention, and we've seen this at magic conventions, where a lot of tables are just tables filled with magic crap. Magicians show up there and they're filled with crap. The two best demonstrations I've ever seen were done by two radically different personalities. On one end of the spectrum, there's this guy named Mark Mason. He's from England. He's considered probably one of the best magic demonstrators in the world. He's a fantastic performer. He always brings some new clever magic tricks to a convention with him. And he's at his booth nonstop performing for people this stuff. And he's got this kind of raspy voice as he does the magic for you. And he sells. He cleans out. He's famous because he can fit all of his product into one suitcase. And he does flat packing on his DVDs and everything. And he can sell, he can do $20,000, $30,000 worth of business at a convention where other people are happy to make $1,000 because he's an amazing demonstrator. He's a great performer who does that. At the other end of the spectrum, two personalities who are fantastic in their own craft but are very quiet, soft-spoken people who are not, you would consider like super charismatic, are the Buck twins, Dan and Dave. Dan and Dave, if you go to dananddave.com, they are some of the finest card magicians in the world. They're twin brothers who do amazing card flourishes, who've invented card flourishes, and have really done a lot to elevate the art of card magic. And they sell custom decks of cards, beautiful custom decks of cards. When you go to one of their booths at a magic convention, and they don't do a lot of them, very rarely, but when they do, they take it over like it's a boutique pop-up store. They will have a bookcase. They'll have nice carpet. They'll have furniture. They'll have a whole setup. So you walk into, like you've just walked into the most stylish rich person's living room you've ever been in, and their products are displayed wonderfully well. I don't know how many they sell, but goddamn, it looks good. They have
and Dan and Dave have gone the other way to say, hey, listen, what's better than having a booth at a magic convention? Running your own magic conventions and having you own 50% of the booths, if not all of it. And they've done it with MagicCon. They've done it with CardistryCon. They have understood that by having a solid brand that everybody, all their customers understand, can identify, and can pick out of a lineup compared to what is very often a kind of Attack of the Clones world of magic sales online, that brand can then extend to, oh, I want the cards from that brand. I want to go to the convention from that brand. When I see that brand's booth at a convention, which again, not exactly a high bar to clear when it comes to classing up a booth at a magic convention. It's like, oh, you sprang for the most expensive Kinko's option for your banner. You are truly Scrooge McDuck. No, they go above and beyond. They make it look like it's a gorgeous coffee shop in San Francisco.
Well, so back to Neshcom had the follow-up question saying it's easy to say talk to them, but how do you get randos interested to listen? And the answer is it's the old salesman tactic of the person asking the question is the one in charge of the conversation. You just be present. Keep in mind, anytime you're at a place, you got traffic going to and from in front of you. You can either do something to grab their attention. You can announce that you're about to do something to grab their attention if you want to go the P.T. Barnum route. But for me, in the NACA market, people would pay an extra fee for the privilege of being allowed to perform magic in the booth because they knew it would engage people to get people in. I would not pay the extra fee for a performance permit or whatever. And instead, I would rather spend the time engaging with people on a personal level. So it's just a matter of establishing eye contact and asking relevant questions. You say like, hey, how are you doing? Where are you from? Or I saw that shirt. Is that maroon or puce? I can't tell the difference. It doesn't matter what gets you started, but then you very quickly engage in a real conversation. Be present with each other. Talk about anything except for please buy my book, and eventually find a place that you guys truly have a meeting of the minds, that you're genuinely on the same page together. And out of that, hopefully will come a genuine dialogue that's relevant to your book. You can guide the conversation there. Just don't start there. Don't start by trying to close.
Yeah, I think it depends on, what you're trying to sell. Like I've never done an ACA. If I was trying to do an ACA, the thing I'd probably do is I would have a booth, I'd get a private suite, and then I would figure out who the bookers are, and I'd invite them to a private show. I would try to separate myself and make it feel like it's, open bar, give them reasons to go other than just the show, and spend the money on creating a very classy environment. So then when they go there, they go, oh, wow, this feels special. And if I had a graphic novel and I'm at a, comic convention how do I, if I'm trying to invite people in the characters, I'm going to do my best to make it look slick and professional and not make it look like I'm just some guy who showed up with a half-baked idea and a dream. I'm going to do cardboard stand-ups of the stuff. I'm going to have you walk by the booth and go, man, this feels like this is, in my 5 feet of space, I'm going to make you think this is as real of a universe as anything DC or Marvel or anybody else could do. It'll take me longer, take me a lot more effort to do that, but that would be my goal, is I want everything to look top-notch and professional. I want them to imagine that I'm already, when you look at how Image Comics originally came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden Image was rivaling these other, properties. That's what I would try to do.
Yeah. So I guess the lesson is drop some money and look pro.
Another thing too is, I'll tell you another idea you can do. Think about this: is if it's a comic book or if it's a cover, and I was going to be at a convention and I knew that convention presences were important. Is there a celebrity I can hire? So you'd be surprised at people who have name recognition that you might be able to hire to say, oh yeah, we had him play the cover model of this thing, or he's done a 15-minute audiobook version that we're giving away free.
Dude, by the way, Ernie Klein's Ready Player One, huge geek phenomenon. They offered him the opportunity to read his audiobook, and Ernie could have done it. He's got a background, he won slam poetry competitions. He's, he knows how to act and how to tell stories and how to engage people, but he intentionally said, no. You know who would be great and who I know is in the business of reading audiobooks? Will Wheaton. Please have Will Wheaton read my book. And of course he did, and that was an integral part of the whole audiobook phenomenon for Ready Player One.
Yeah, and it may not be. I mean, that could be an expensive undertaking to get somebody like him. But if you look at, if you're going to be let's say you're going to do the Toronto Comic Con, is there a Toronto science fiction or fantasy celebrity, somebody who lives there locally, that you could say, hey, I'll pay $1,000, sit at my booth, shake hands with people, meet people. I'm going to have you do, you're going to do a 10-minute reading, whatever, of the book that we're going to give away or something. Give people an excuse to come by and get an autograph, and you print up, you could get some of these people a lot cheaper than you might think, a lot cheaper than building displays and stuff. And, it's Star Wars Celebration, humongous lines. People are paying hundreds of dollars to pay money to somebody who wore latex, and you never saw their face in a Star Wars film. I would think about that. That's a quick and easy way. And also, when the local reporter is going to go there to go cover something, if you've got, somebody paid out to go do that, it's more likely to get covered.
Oh my gosh. Well, and think about this. It doesn't, you and I being magicians, we immediately think of like, oh, if you could just do a magic trick related to your whatever, or as, call it a demonstration of a certain principle or whatever. It doesn't need to be that. If there's a physical object that you can locate, that's a manifestation of an idea in your book, as long as, if there's a visual curiosity, think about every way to get people to experience what your book is about. That's not the book. Whether it's a demonstration in real time, whether it's a physical object that engages people, that raises an eyebrow and makes them see things differently, figure out all the ways that you can express the same idea from a different angle.
Well, and just again, the product is the roadmap. Like all of this, yes, we can come up with a million ideas in abstract that could fit a million different types of products. That could be great strategies. You will know it is the strategy for you, or at least you will have an intuition or a hunch, or you'll be better informed when you have a product that you understand and can see the value in, and specifically see the value where you can't see the value in other products. When you know that what you are selling is different than the thing that the sad indie comic guy is packing up with the $13 to his name from the convention. When you can see that difference, when you can understand objectively what that difference is, and you understand what makes your product special, a lot of this is a lot clearer, because now it's just a million different options in the sky. And it's really hard to say, okay, well, I would do this, or I wouldn't do this, or the way Andrew described this is really compelling. The way Brian described this is really compelling. You want to know why? Brian's got product and has for over 10 years, or longer than that. Andrew's had product for a similar, if not longer, period of time. There is an idea that both of them have that this is how I sell this thing. I know what this thing is. I know who buys this thing. I know what speaks to them. I know what cuts through the clutter to the thing next to me.
That's a really good way to put it, because when the first I made the Bizarre Magic Show, then I went to a convention and I said, and it's a matter of looking at it, we're like, okay, what is it that this has that nothing else has? What is the story behind it? Figure out the story behind the whatever it is that you're selling. Is the story that it's the award-winningest book on the planet? Then tell that story. Is the story that in all of history nobody has ever combined these three elements to make a 8-volume epic? Then tell that story.
If you on the celebrity idea again, you'd be surprised at what you could be able to get. Hey, you're Toronto. Want to know who's available in Toronto? Hayden Christensen.
What?
From Toronto.
Really?
Yeah, Michael Ironsides too. So I'm just looking look at the famous people from an area.
Of shoots in Toronto too. So there's probably a lot of board actors that are sitting in their
Arrow
hotel
actors
rooms with like $1,000 payday.
Man,
again, yeah, it's just one. It's one approach. But you can. We had a buddy for his 40th birthday had the Fix come play, and the Fix was a big band in the 80s, and for not a huge amount of money, thousands of thousands, it cost him. They weren't cheap, but they weren't ridiculously expensive. He hired them for his birthday, and that may not be practical for a lot of people, but if you look at what you're going to spend, if you want to get people at your booth and talking about your product, buying somebody else's fame, buying somebody else's attention, or renting it rather.
If you have the money. And if you don't have the money, then just, write 100 emails and try to befriend all those guys. Ask them for advice. And out of those 100 celebrities, local and available, you'll find one or two that are interested in reading your book and will be happy to, engage with you.
Yeah, and also, like, at the convention, you figure at a magic convention, your job is to sell magic. It's very easy. You can get coverage in all the magic magazines, for spending $6 on postage and you're done. To get them to review your stuff. When you're trying to sell, if your goal is to sell product, then you want to create, how do I get people to the table and how do I get them into the product?
And there is a great thirst for that kind of stuff at conventions. You would not believe the lines for people who played the most inane elements of the grand kaleidoscope of Star Wars. The puppeteer who did something for 4 seconds of screen time had 5 people lined up because they just want every autograph from everybody who had anything to do with Star Wars. And the same would go for Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, a lot of popular shows that are popular now. It's amazing.
Hey guys, I got steaks waiting for me to cook them downstairs.
I got a Butterfingers. Gentlemen, it's been after.
I gotta fall down and go to sleep.
It's been after.
Awesome. All right, there you go. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to start uploading it. This is...
Title is... Boo.
Michael Ironsides will do your convention for $1,000.
I don't think that's true, and I don't want to get sued.
The sad, lonely guy going home.
Toronto is sad.
Boxes of unsold merch.
Table of defeat.
That's it. Table of defeat. It's what we're all terrified of. Oh, man. Game of Thrones tonight.
Oh, boy. All right.
Yeah. I thought last week was really good.
You know what else is good about Game of Thrones?
What?
Justin?
Everything about it. Yeah. All of it. The thing I hate about Game of Thrones, to be honest, and this is something that has really pissed me off, is there is no default way to watch it that shows the battery life. I really, really wish that you could show the battery life on the Game of Thrones. There's just no, come on.
It's like you have to leave Game of Thrones for one, and then go, look at some other menu to find out whether or not the battery's going to run out.
Come on, what the F word?
It's like, you know, when I watched Spartacus, then
Yes.
they always displayed the battery life at all
I
times.
watched Xena, and that was 10 years ago. They show the battery life all the time. No, listen, Game of Thrones is the best. It's better than anything. It's anybody who talks ill about it, you know, we're going to get into a fight.
Did you see? You saw Kristen Wiig as Khaleesi?
Oh my! I love that. Is like my favorite recurring bit
Where? Yeah.
where she comes out as somebody that she knows nothing about and just has an interview.
Yeah.
So, I think. Did you see the Michael Jordan one?
Oh no, she came out as Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. It's really good.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna go cook this steak. I'm gonna shut down the. I guess I'll stop the butt first. So long, Alpha Geek Radio.
Adios, guys.